deep in the heart of a vast, lonely desert, where the sand stretched endlessly and the wind whispered secrets of forgotten times, a young woman named Sarah lived completely alone. Her home was a simple mud hut, cracked by years of relentless sun and harsh winds. For as long as she could remember, she had been solitary, untouched by friendship, love, or human warmth. The world outside the desert existed only in stories she had heard as a child, distant echoes she could barely recall. Her days were empty yet repetitive, filled with wandering across the dunes, staring at the horizon, and listening to the silence that seemed almost alive. Sarah's beauty was legendary in the desert. Not the kind that drew crowds or admiration, but the kind that carried a haunting magnetism. Travelers who had crossed the desert in tales spoke of a woman whose eyes seemed to hold the entire sky, whose movements were poetry against the golden waves of sand. But with beauty came isolation. No one stayed long, and no one truly knew her. Her life had become a rhythm of shadows, the silence both a companion and a torment. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sand in shades of molten gold, Sarah climbed a high dune and sat down, her eyes tracing the horizon where the sky met the earth. That's when she heard it, a faint sound, almost swallowed by the wind, the soft crunch of footsteps. She froze, her heart pounding in a way it hadn't for years. Slowly, deliberately, she rose to her feet and looked down. There, making his way across the sand, was an old man. His back was bent with age, his steps careful, and in his hand he carried a small glass bottle of oil. For reasons she could not name, something stirred deep in Sarah's heart. It was as if the universe had finally answered a silent prayer whispered in solitude for decades. Her lips parted instinctively, calling out, "Hey, listen. Come to me, Ben." The old man paused, his eyes scanning the dunes, confused at first. But the sound of her voice drew him forward, faster now, compelled by a force he could not explain. Sarah, unable to contain herself, ran down the dune to meet him, the wind whipping her hair around her face. She reached him, and without a word, took his hand, leading him toward a deserted mound of sand. Ben, startled, stopped. "Hey, who are you? Where are you taking me? Why are you holding my hand?" he asked. But Sarah said nothing. She held his hand tighter, guiding him upward to the peak of the dune, so high that not even a bird would dare to fly there. Finally, they stopped. Sarah's eyes softened, and she spoke in a voice barely above the wind. "Are you a masseur? Do you give massages?" Ben nodded slowly, wary. "Yes, but who are you?" "I need one," Sarah said simply. A flicker of happiness passed over her face as Ben's hands reached for the oil bottle. "So, can you massage my back?" Ben hesitated, his brows furrowing. "Are you out of your mind? I only massage men. You are a woman." Sarah winced, pressing her hands to her lower back, groaning in pain. "It hurts right here, just a little. Maybe it will bring relief." For a moment, Ben looked uncertain. Then slowly, deliberately, he began to rub oil into her back. Sarah closed her eyes, a sigh escaping her lips. A sound like the desert itself was exhaling, releasing years of held tension. The first step towards something unspoken had begun, a subtle dance of trust and vulnerability that neither had anticipated. As darkness spread across the desert, Ben rose, preparing to leave. But Sarah, panic flickering across her face, called after him. "Where will you go in the middle of the night? Stay here with me tonight." Ben glanced around. The night had swallowed the dunes whole. The stars were hidden behind thick clouds. He paused, then turned back, meeting her gaze. Sarah's beauty was startling, yet there was a fragility beneath it, a loneliness that demanded care. Without thinking, he returned to her side. "Okay," he said quietly. "I'll stay. But where is there a place to sleep here?" Sarah smiled, a mysterious curve of her lips. "We will find a place. You just have to be willing to sleep with me." She led him toward the hut, hands entwined, hearts cautious, yet curious. When they arrived, Ben surveyed the small mud structure. "It's too small. Only one person can sleep here," he murmured. Sarah's gaze met his. "The hut may be small, but the desert is vast. We can sleep outside, on the sand." Ben nodded. She spread a mat, and they sat close together. A few moments passed in silence, until Sarah's eyes fell upon the oil bottle in Ben's hand. "How much do you charge for a massage?" she asked, with a gentle smile. "Whatever people give me," Ben replied simply. "And what would you take from me?" she pressed, leaning slightly toward him. Ben said nothing, only continued to gaze at her. Sarah's lips curved into a faint, enigmatic smile. She rose, fetched wood, and lit a fire. She boiled 2 eggs and placed them in front of him, saying softly, "It's cold. You need this." Ben, confused yet touched, ate the eggs. He watched her quietly, wondering about the mysteries that clung to her like the desert wind clinging to sand. That night, they slept side by side on separate mats, the fire crackling softly between them. Morning came, and Sarah woke to climb a sand dune, her arm trembling as she sat down. A sudden, sharp cry broke the stillness. "Oh, my arm, my arm." Ben, alarmed, ran to their side. She pointed to the pain, and Ben's hands moved over her arm with careful precision. As he rubbed oil into her muscles, Sarah's face softened, transported into a strange peace she had not felt in years. "No one ever cared for me," she murmured, voice tinged with coldness. Then, looking at him, she added, "But you can, right?" Ben's heart tightened. "Yes," he whispered, almost reluctantly. "I can take care of you, if you want me to." Before he could process her words, Sarah vanished behind a dune, only to be found peeking from behind a rock moments later. They sat together in quiet contemplation, the desert around them stretching endlessly. She fed him, laughed gently, shared stories of hunger that was not in the stomach, but in the heart, and slowly they began a delicate dance of trust, healing, and unspoken affection. Days turned into weeks. Each morning, Sarah would climb to the circle on the dune and sit in silence, praying, reflecting, repenting. Ben, growing accustomed to the rhythm of her pain and joy, would join her, offering comfort and silent companionship. Each touch, each shared meal, each gentle conversation slowly dissolved the barriers Sarah had built around her heart. Then came the revelation. One stormy afternoon, lightning streaked across the sky, rain drenching the dunes. Sarah's voice trembled as she confessed her deepest secret. She had left Ben years ago, consumed by vanity and the desire to remain eternally beautiful. She had sought forbidden powers from a mysterious witch, paid a terrible price in blood and suffering, and ultimately been condemned to live in isolation, seeking repentance. Ben listened, silent and patient, his heart aching for the years they had lost. When she finished, a serene calm settled over the desert. The mist swirled around them, not hiding, but unveiling. In that sacred moment, Sarah's beauty faded from its unnatural perfection. She was human again, vulnerable and real. Her soul unburdened, her heart finally at peace. The desert, once a prison of solitude, had become a sanctuary of redemption. Together they returned to their hut, no longer separate souls, but intertwined in mutual healing and love. They shared laughter, quiet mornings, and evenings by the fire. Sarah's pain was still present occasionally, but it was tempered by Ben's steady presence. She had learned that true beauty was not in appearance, but in the courage to confront one's mistakes. to seek forgiveness, and to nurture the hearts of others. Months passed. Each day brought its own quiet revelations. Sarah would show Ben hidden springs, secret caves, and high dunes where the wind spoke only to those willing to listen. She revealed her fears, her regrets, and Ben, in turn, offered patience, understanding, and unwavering companionship. Slowly, the wounds of the past healed. One morning, as they sat atop a high dune, watching the sunrise, Sarah whispered, "Sometimes, hunger is not in the stomach, but in the heart." Ben smiled, the desert around them glowing with golden light. "And sometimes," he said, "the heart finds healing in the hands of someone who truly cares." The desert had taught them both profound lessons. That solitude could bring clarity, that confession could bring freedom, and that love, when patient and forgiving, could heal even the deepest scars. Sarah and Ben, once lost to time and circumstance, had found each other again. Together, they lived a simple, quiet life, their hearts unburdened, their spirits entwined. And so the desert that once held only silence and loneliness, now echoed with laughter, whispers of love, and the gentle hum of redemption. Sarah had paid her dues, repented her sins, and found the courage to return to the one she loved. Ben had waited patiently, holding space for her transformation, proving that true love does not demand perfection. It nurtures, forgives, and waits. This story teaches us something profound. No mistake is too great, no distance too far, no pain too deep, that sincere repentance, courage, and love cannot heal. Life may lead us into deserts of isolation, but if we face our truths, take responsibility for our actions, and open our hearts, redemption is always possible. There is strength in admitting our faults, beauty in seeking forgiveness, and peace in embracing the present with those who care. If this story touched your heart, remember that even in your own desert, whatever loneliness, pain, or regret you carry, there is hope. There is a way back. There is someone, somewhere, or even within yourself, ready to help you find peace. Like Sarah, we all have the power to reclaim our hearts, heal our wounds, and live a life full of meaning and love. If this tale inspired you, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who might need hope, and subscribe to the channel. Let's spread stories that remind us of the power of redemption, the beauty of human connection, and the courage it takes to confront our past. Your journey may be hard, but remember, healing is possible, love is possible, and happiness is waiting just beyond the horizon.